I'm Michael Fox, and this is the Prospector Podcast. And I have joining me a new guest. I have Kimberly Ann, the president and CEO of Lahontan Gold. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. You and I have known each other for a number of years now, and we finally get the opportunity to do a little bit of work together. But for my users that aren't familiar with Lahontan Gold, let's give them the overview of the company, who you are, what you're doing, and where you're doing it.
Yeah, Lahontan Gold is a fantastic story. We're in the Walker Lane, Nevada, the best jurisdiction in the world. It's a past producing mine that was mined back in late 80s, early 90s, open pit, heap leach style, so low cost operation. It shut down because of simple economics. Gold dropped to $340 and just hard to make money at that level. But what it did do for us is it left us with millions and millions of ounces in the ground. On record that we record to the public, we have 2 million ounces and it continues to grow. It's high grade oxide, as we call it. It's 0.93 gold EQ, so that's very good in the Walker Lane. We have been very busy the past year drilling and just adding more ounces organically through the drill bit, but also by redoing our models, as our published model is at 1950 gold pit shells. So as you can imagine, when you drop the pit shells down, you're picking up a lot more ounces. So we are very busy fine tuning our models because we started permitting this to go back into production about almost 3 years ago now. And now we're really in the nitty gritty at this point, and that we'll be looking to break ground in early 2027. So it's a very, very exciting time for the company.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of this work has been happening in the background, and it's happened since we saw each other at PDAC. But prior to PDAC, and we should probably address this, there was a bit of a dark cloud over the company. No fault to you, management, or the company whatsoever, but one of your major shareholders was a company called Victoria Gold, which had a tailings dam failure in the Yukon and ended up in bankruptcy. And the shares that they owned of your company ended up going out in the market as the receiver tried to liquidate that to satisfy the bankruptcy requirements.
Yeah.
But all those shares are now in the market. They're clear. Since PDAC, your stock has been on a tear, and most of its pre-Victoria Gold issues pricing has come back. But yeah, it was a little bit of purgatory for you folks.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't plan for everything in the world, especially in mining, as we like to say. We like to think that we have control of all this, but we just don't. And having that happen to Victoria Gold was absolutely devastating. And especially being in the Yukon, having the government take that away from them was insane in a lot of eyes. I think you could agree with that, Michael. But for us, look, we're just the bystanders with assets in Nevada that happen to have 52 million shares in the corporate hands of Victoria. That it actually got stuck in the probate for 10 months, which wouldn't allow us to move that block of shares. However, the market was scared about that. And but look, now I'm super proud of where we sit today. We have bounced back from that, and it's a really good time for people to come into the story because we're still relatively inexpensive as far as getting in on the bottom floor with the stock. But more importantly, we trade a lot of stock. This week we've been trading 10 million shares a day on the TSXV and the OTC, and I think liquidity is king in a situation like that. That you can come in and out of a stock, feel comfortable that if you get in and you change your mind, you can get back out of it. But we are very proud of the bounce back, and the future looks extremely bright at this point.
Yeah, so let's put that aside. A lot of work's been happening since April to today's date as you guys move towards production in, I believe, 2027. And let's go through all this work that's being done because even since April, this is like night and day to where you were to where you are now.
Yeah, it really is. It's a transformative year so far. Look, we put out a PEA in December of last year, and again, that was done with 1950 pit shells, so it's massively out of date. But the document, we needed to get it out specifically because It was heavily engineered, more like a PFS style document, because we needed it for our mine application and just for simply getting our permitting going. But what it did do is give us a very important document with the last page of a hit list of where we can improve. And so we've been just knocking everything off that list, from metallurgy to more infill drilling where there was gaps in the database, et cetera. And it's working out quite well. For example, when you have a third party write these documents, they tend to discount recoveries, because they're not comfortable with them for one reason or another, mostly because they didn't do the work themselves to prove it to themselves. And, when you're discounting what reality is from production numbers of 6 years of recoveries by 12 to 15%, that's massive. And so for us, I don't want to see that again. I want to be able to put out a quality document next year in Q1 that really reflects what we have, how big it is right now, and how big it can be for the future. So we've been working very hard behind the scenes on that. We do have 2 permits going at the same time. A plan of operation, which is an exploration permit. We are currently in NEPA on that and expect to have that document before the end of the year, which allows us to explore the entire project, basically sterilizing everything, so we never have to go back to the BLM for more permitting on that. And then we can really start to unlock the massive upside that we know is there. We've currently been working under a notice of intent, which gives us 5 acres. And then we reclaim it and then move on to another 5 acres. We've done a lot with that because of being able to drill on haul roads and on patented claims, et cetera. But we still can't explore the massive land package we have until this is done. We also picked up some more claims around the York pit, which historically had very good grades, but to date, our published document only reports half of the ounces that were in the pit and around the pit because we didn't own the land. Now we own the land. The drilling we've done out there just recently proves that this could be a very big hit. So we're super excited to get back out there in October, November, and do another program to add more ounces before we update our resource numbers in Q1 of next year.
Okay, let's do a quick review of that PEA that was in December. So what did the headline numbers tell us about that, and how has, between the work and the change in the gold price, changed that?
Well, it gets to a total giggle factor, Michael, on the change in the gold price. But as that document sits with the 1950 pit shells, it's an 8-year project life of mine, $930 million life of mine. The capex is quite low, $120 million, which has a 20% contingency in there, which I find quite high. The payback is 2.7 years with an NPV5 of 200 million. If you run that same model with 3,500 gold, your NPV is over 400 million, not changing the pit shells. Your IRR is over 64%. Your payback is 18 whole months. So yeah, I mean, it makes me giggle. As I worked at Waterton. I know how to find debt. We will, when we go to fund this, we will take as much debt as we can, because with the 18-month payback, it's much more favorable to the company to do that. It's less dilution to my shareholders. I'm a big shareholder and I want to continue to do this methodically so we're not over diluting. And it just gives us so much more opportunity. So we are very focused on fine tuning this new document so that we have the best numbers to work with moving forward.
When the document was done, what was the price of gold that you were using for the PEA, just so people could get a real idea how much of a change this is?
Well, the pit shells were 1950 and the PEA was done at 2050. So, I mean, that was just December. And that just seems ridiculous now. I mean, when you look at gold price, you're like, wow. So, we have to run internal models, because at the end of the day, we are still going to be moving a heck of a lot of dirt and rock And that's not changing. It's just a published document doesn't represent what we're actually doing, but we still have to run those models so that we can report specifically to the government, for our permitting, how many tons of dirt we're moving and how much dust we're kicking up, all those details that you need to break ground.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you just got a NEPA permit, and a lot of my listeners probably don't know what that term means and how significant this permit really is to your operations. Can we go back
Yeah.
and talk about that?
Yeah. So basically, we just finished all our BNF. These are the baseline studies. We call them the bugs and bunny studies because it's so darn complicated. Getting in the nitty gritty is just super not fun. But we have sterilized the entire land package essentially, which is all the BNF, which is really crucial because they made us look for everything you can think of, raptors and archaeological remains and just pygmy rats, which I had to Google up myself to figure out what the heck a pygmy rat is. But the point is, all those studies have been approved and moving forward, grandfathered in for the mine permit as well. And then now we are in NEPA, which is more focused on air and water quality. And we expect this process to go quite quickly now because usually you have a public comment period for all your neighbors to have opinions about this, but we don't have any neighbors. Nothing grows out where we are. It's the driest part of Nevada with really no people out there except for one rancher that we share the land with. But basically, we don't have to go through the comment period, so it really shorts the timeline is much shorter, and so we expect to have all those questions answered before the end of the year. They're telling me November, but I'll just say the end of the year for cautionary. But that's really great for us because then all of that information goes into our final mine application that they want to see for breaking ground.
Yeah, and you're in the Walker Lane in Nevada. There's dozens of mines.
Yes.
All around you and up
Yep.
and down that trend line. So it's not like you're trying to go to mine an area where you're like the only person.
That's correct. It's a very active district. The Isabel Pearl mine backs up to our border. They're an open pit, lookalike project. They just got their NEPA complete on one of their other projects. So, I'm fortunate enough to live 45 minutes away from the BLM office, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only CEO that walks in that office. But I get to walk in there and talk to them all the time and check in person, and and it's a great relationship. We have biweekly calls with them because we're all on notice to get our jobs done on both sides of the fence. So it somehow is working quite well so far.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the BLM. We're the 30th of September when we're recording this, and there's a very high probability of a government shutdown in the U.S. because Congress can't seem to align themselves to
Get along.
Basically get along.
Yeah.
You've taken some unique steps to I'm going to call it a hedge to hedge the shutdown with the BLM. What can you tell me about that and how that is going to help you keep things on track?
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody I talk to thinks the government is going to shut down, and one thing that we always have problems with in the BLM office is that they just don't ever have enough people. It's kind of like TSA and all the flight problems that we have. But basically, Trump has been pushing through all these great new legislations to cut timelines, but then you've got Doge, which has got everybody on a hiring freeze. So that doesn't align with each other to get work done efficiently and to even try to meet those timelines that Trump is pushing through, which I think in the future that's going to be great. But again, they can't even keep up with what the new legislation is half the time, and neither can we. And so they invented this program quite a while ago, actually, but it's becoming really important now. It's called contributed funds, where the company, us being the company, can set up an account. They tell us what they think is the estimated cost of all the reviewing on their side from a dollar standpoint. And we put money in an account. Yes, it costs a lot more money, but what it does do is allows, we work with the Carson City office. What allows them to do is to call up another office for another specialist to review certain parts of the applications when no one is in their office to do it, because if there's a forest fire going on, they have to run out and deal with that before anything else. So those delays allows them to use the contributed funds for that versus us just be waiting for no apparent reason. And in a government shutdown that's looming over our heads right now, it keeps people working. Been in contact for 3 days with the head guys that run our file, and they're like saying, "Don't worry, Kimberly, your file is the top of the pile because you chose to do this program." And it's, of course, an elected program, but we want to be as proactive and help out as much as we can for them to get their job done, because we know breaking ground is the best way for the company to be cash flowing as quick as possible. And then it leaves us with the opportunity of untapped potential to drill out our own project with our own dollars.
Yeah, most definitely. And it certainly doesn't hurt that you're the only CEO walking into that BLM office that's 45 minutes away.
Well, I always say the squeaky wheel gets the grease, I want to be the nice squeaky wheel that tries to help out in any way we can, because we can't approve the files. They have to do it, right? So we're trying, we're helping.
Yeah, most definitely. So as we move forward, this will help you keep the permitting process in check. What other work needs to be done between now and the end of the year and early into 2026? And is that program funded already?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, we were fortunate enough to do a financing, in April and last April, and we did give out half warrants, and we put an acceleration clause in there. And I'm very proud to say that we met that threshold before Beaver Creek Conference, actually. And so we get to have all those warrants come due, and a lot of them are getting exercised right now. And October 21st is the deadline for all that money to, warrants to be exercised, which will put another couple million in our till. So that's fantastic. I also have been talking to my largest shareholders who have other warrants that haven't expired that I've asked to, have them exercised to just, clean up our warrant share structure as much as possible as we move forward and give us more of a runway through this exciting time. But, we will, of course, raise more funds probably before the end of the year. We haven't made the decision to do that yet, but we're really waiting on when can we get the drill rig, and, timing on all of that will be crucial. But between now and 2027 and breaking ground, it's not a big ask. We need between $7 and $10 million. And if you think about that from where we sit today, that's a year and a half away. It's just not a lot of money. So we will raise some funds, but it'll be incremental funds. So it's less dilution. And it's just all about me focusing on marketing the company, finding more shareholders to get in the story, and moving that share price so that when we do raise funds, it'll be a better share price and less dilution for the company. So when we do that, we haven't made the decision on that yet, but I feel very fortunate of having all of these warrants flood in right now, because it's just giving us, more time to continue to go down the path we're on.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Beaver Creek. Beaver Creek is the Precious Metals Summit. It's generally the start of the fall fundraising period in time, and it's a good gauge of market sentiment. You were at Beaver Creek. You and I were going to try and meet there, but you were just too stacked with meetings for that to happen.
Yes.
What was your impression of Beaver Creek, and how does it bode well for your company and for the industry?
It was the best Beaver Creek I've gone to, I think, and I can't remember. And you're right, I had 64 meetings, so I did leave that conference a little punch drunk. But the sentiment was great. People were happy, excited for the future. Talking to a lot of, uh, analysts, podcasters, etc. Everybody thinks gold's going to be at 4,000 by the end of the year, and it sure as heck heading that way. But I think it's a really exciting time for the industry. And look, I say this all the time. It doesn't matter what metal you're playing in, every metal is critical. I mean, if it can't be grown, it has to be mined. And this is something that I'm very dedicated to trying to get my voice out there across the globe, because living in California, a California girl where everybody drives a Tesla, but they don't want to mine next door to them. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And I think education in the industry is the most important thing we can do to bring in those investors that don't understand, especially in the US market. Because when you're in Canada, if there's not a hockey game on and BNN in a bar, there's something wrong with the bar. That's not how it is in the US, though. We need more of that so that we can start getting access to that money, because there's so many eager people that want to invest in our industry, especially now with where gold is, right? And all the metal prices, frankly.
Yes, most definitely. So, if people wish to continue to follow your story as it breaks out here through the fall, and this is a good opportunity to start following this story, as there's a lot of upsides to what you're doing currently, how would they do so, Kimberly?
Yeah, well, first go to our website and sign up for the newsletter, lahontangoldcorp.com. And make your own decision when you invest in a company. Check your own boxes that you're comfortable with. Jurisdiction, have they done it before? All those questions that are important, and follow along until you have the answer that satisfies you. But it is a great story. I call it a turnkey operation style company right now. It's just a matter of checking all the boxes as we go through the permitting phase to get to the finish line.
Well said, and I got to tell you, when I looked into you, you checked all of my boxes, and people hear the disclaimer that'll indicate that I am a shareholder in your company. So, I'm
Thank you,
looking forward
Michael.
to the fall, and as you rev yourself up to production, I think that there's opportunity here that people should do their own due diligence, but be looking into. So,
Michael, before we go, don't forget, we have to talk about West Santa Fe next time we're on the show, because it's not just about Santa Fe. There's so much more to talk about for this company. So it's not a one project show.
no, it is not. There's multiple projects.
So much.
So much to unpack and talk about. Yeah, we will definitely be talking about West Santa Fe in the next show for sure.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay, thank you for your time, Kimberly.
Take care.
Lahontan Gold is a proud sponsor of the Prospector News. The host owns shares in Lahontan Gold bought at the market for investment purposes. The Prospector News podcast is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and are not to be taken as investment advice. Listeners need to do their own due diligence and seek advice of a licensed investment advisor.